Hey guys, what is up? It's munclesonkey and welcome to a new video. In this video we're going to be going over how to solo the Corporeal beast. So if you're looking to kill this boss for whatever reason, for fun, because you want charms, just because you want to get this done for the final boss battle, any reason at all, this guide will tell you how to solo it. I'll be showing you how to get about 20 kills per hour using the gear and method that I am using. So it will be fairly fast, only 5 hours to get those 100 kills for the final boss title if you're going for that, or whatever reason you might be going to Corp. So first of all, for the requirements, they are pretty high, and I really would not recommend getting into solo Corp with anything lower than this, just because it's not worth doing at all if you can't get a lot of kills per hour. So you're really going to struggle quite a bit to solo Corp without a lot of these things. First of all, is 99 attack and strength. Accuracy is extremely important here, so you really do need that. 95 prayer is very important for the turmoil curse. Boosting your accuracy and your damage, you're going to need that, as well as draining the Corporeal beast stats, which is very handy. As well as 96 herblore to make overload potions, and at least 85 defense for Tetsu. There are other armors that you can use as well, but Tetsu is probably the best armor if you're just barely getting into Corp, and then you can move on to Malevolent later on, or stick with Tetsu if you prefer that. In addition to this, for doing solo Corporeal beast efficiently, you will also need a Zamorakian spear, as well as 10 chaotic spikes, which is going to cost you a total of 200,000 dungeoneering tokens. And the reason why you need both of these is to make a chaotic spear, which is extremely important. So however much dungeoneering you need to do to get those tokens, to get those chaotic spikes, to make that spear, that is needed before you get into solo Corp. You can additionally use the Zamorakian spear if you really hate dungeoneering or something like that, but you're going to have lower accuracy and damage, so I really would not recommend that. And also, it's not good to use any weapon other than a spear, because any non-spear weapon has its damage halved against the Corporeal beast. So your chaotic spear is by far the best way to go. Now we go into the gear and inventory requirements, and one thing you'll notice right off the bat is the gear is fairly high level and it will cost you a decent amount of money, but there really is not a whole lot of stuff that you could swap this out for. First of all, I'm wearing Malevolent armor. The only two other armors that I would really recommend wearing instead of Malevolent, if you do not have Malevolent or do not want to get it for some reason, is Tetsu, either the Superior or the tradable version. Of course, the Superior is a little bit better. Or you could additionally decide to wear Torva armor, and those two will do the job. Malevolent is by far the best armor if you do have access to it, just because of the damage boost. With the Malevolent armor, you're going to get about 5.5% extra damage than you would over the Tetsu, but with the Tetsu, you'll get about 9% extra damage reduction over the Malevolent. So it's up to you to decide how much you struggle with food on which out of those two is going to be more beneficial to you. For the rest of the gear, I have a chaotic spear equipped. I have pneumatic gloves and steadfast boots. These are a nice non-degradable tank boots and gloves. Each of those is going to provide an extra 1% damage reduction, which is nice. I also have a Vampirism Scrimshaw. You can buy these off the GE or make them yourself. They provide 5% or 6% extra healing, depending on whether it's the tradable or the superior version. Those are incredibly useful. I'd really recommend getting one for Corp. It will make your trips last a lot longer. I also have a Vampirism Aura and a Ring of Vigor, which is going to be nice when you are using your ultimates to save a little bit of adrenaline. And the final thing, the thing that is really, really important, makes this entire train run, is the Blood Amulet of Fury that I have equipped. This is going to heal you roughly on average about 500 HP about every 10 seconds. So it's incredibly nice and is going to prolong your trips by so much. This is the #1 thing that's probably the most important in your gear setup after the Chaotic Spear itself. You really need to get yourself one of these if you are looking to do some solo corping. The inventory is pretty standard. I have a Supreme Overload Potion and a Super Prayer Renewal. You can swap those out for normal overloads and prayer renewals if you'd like. 5 Super Restore Potions, an Adrenaline Potion, Bruised Rocktails. I additionally have Dreadnips in my inventory. You can get these from Dominion Tower. You have to do 450 boss kills before you can get the Dreadnips. They don't do a whole lot of damage, but they do inflict poison on the Corporeal beast. You can additionally swap these out for Weapon Poison if you would like, if you do not have the Dominion Tower kills done. The poison damage is really nice because it hits between 300 and 600 damage on the Corp and fairly regularly, so it does help speed up the kills a little bit. So for the Corporeal beast kill itself, when you first start off the kill, turn on your quick prayers, make sure you deploy your Dreadnips. Usually you will use about 2 Dreadnips every single kill. They last 1 minute each, and typically the kills take around 2 minutes when you are soloing, although it is possible to get faster than that, and sometimes you'll just get unlucky with the hits and go slower than that. Corp does have a really high defense, although you will be draining quite a bit of that with the Turmoil Curse, so just be aware that you're not going to be hitting every single time. So it is completely random, but sometimes the Dark Core will pop out. Sometimes you'll get lucky and you won't pop out until the kill is nearly done. Sometimes you'll pop out right away, and when that does happen, what you want to be using is the Hurricane and Quake abilities to kill the Dark Core. If you are using a Chaotic Spear, using those two abilities will kill the core about 90% of the time. If it does not kill the core, what you want to do is run 2 spaces away from the core every single time it flies towards you. and then you will have to continue running back and forth until the Hurricane ability is recharged, and then you can KO the core. It will spawn again fairly regularly, so just be aware you will have to continue doing this, and it is a little bit annoying, but that's just one thing that you do have to deal with. For your ultimate ability, I would recommend to use Pulverize. It will reduce the damage that Corp does by 25% for 60 seconds. It's very, very nice. And for your thresholds, other than the Hurricane and the Quake, which you will be using to kill the core, of course, I would recommend to use Debilitate, which will reduce Corp's damage by 50% for 8 seconds, as well as Devotion, which will make your protection prayers 100% effective for 10 seconds. So as long as you are praying mage, the mage attacks from the Corp cannot hit you for 10 seconds, which is very, very nice. Also, just make sure to get your assaults off if the core is not spawned, and that will really help do some damage to the Corporeal Beast himself. And after you have all of this down, it's fairly easy. So a few tips to go in while corping. It is really important that you do have your Vampirism Aura and Vampirism Scrimshaw at all times when doing the Corporeal Beast. If you do not have your Vampirism Aura active, if it's on cooldown or something like that, of course it is going to be a little bit more difficult to get these kills just because you'll be taking a lot more damage. Another thing is why I use the ability Pulverize for my ultimate instead of Berserk is because when you do a Berserk, every once in a while Corp will get incredibly lucky with his mage hits and he'll hit back-to-back 4000s. This does happen sometimes, and it is possible to be KO'd, and you cannot eat through it if Corp gets really lucky with his hit, and that has happened to me once or twice. Again, it's rare, but just to be on the safe side, I do not use Berserk for that reason. Also, one thing he can do is he can just start comboing you, and then you start eating like crazy, and it just ends up to not be a good time. So unless you're going for the fastest kills possible, or if you are with your friends at Corp, I would really recommend not to use Berserk and to use Pulverize instead. For your Adrenaline Potion, you should really use this when you're about 75% Adrenaline. This is especially useful if you are trying to dodge the core, so it is a little bit difficult to build up your Adrenaline since you're having to run back and forth and you're not able to use those basics constantly. I would not recommend to use your Adrenaline Potion for any reason other than that, just because that Pulverize is very, very nice to get that damage off, and you really should be trying to use it as much as possible. Some other things is if you do start to get hit really hard, don't panic and just remember to drink a brew if your health starts to dip a little bit lower to the point where you're getting uncomfortable with it. Corp will only hit about 3k with his mage hits at the very max, and he rarely hits that high, so it's normally not something that will KO you if your health starts to get low, unless you get really unlucky or unless you click under the Corp and walk under him by accident, and then he can stomp on you and deal a whole ton of damage, so try to avoid doing that. Just sip brews when your health gets low, and then you can restore it with your super restores. Try not to eat rocktails during the kill. I typically will eat one after the kill if my health is a little bit too low, just because they will lower your adrenaline and then you can't use your thresholds, so it's harder to kill the core, or it's harder to use Debilitate or something like that. Overall, after you have a few kills under your belt, if you're using the same gear as I am, and this also works with Tetsu as well, you should be able to get about 10 kills per trip, and you will not be using food that often. I would say more often than not you will be using no food during your kills, as long as you have all three of those healing items, the Vampirism Scrimshaw Aura as well as the Blood Amulet active. And of course, out of all of those, the Blood Amulet is by far the most effective one, so you really want to make sure you do get one of those before you get into solo Corp. And overall, Corp can be really good money, and blue charms, if you get lucky, the main thing you're looking out for is the Onyx Bolt. Admittedly, there's not a whole lot of other drops that are all that good, but they're pretty common. So now we finally get into the rewards out of the Corporeal Beast. Is Corporeal Beast worth doing if you're looking for someone that's looking for max profit? Absolutely not. If you're looking for a solo boss to make some cash, you're much better off going to either Araxor or QBD. So again, this is why I've been reiterating the fact that you really should only do this boss either if you enjoy doing it, or if you are looking to get some Corporeal Beast kills on your boss kills tab. So it is about 20 kills per hour solo. It's possible to get a few more than that or a few less than that. It does depend a little bit on RNG, just because some kills will go faster than others because of the accuracy problems. But if you are getting 20 kills per hour, which is a really nice measure to go by, and that is roughly what you'll get using the gear and setup that I showed during this video, it's about 200k combat XP per hour. Not amazing. About 2.5 mil to 3 mil cash per hour, and this is just off of the regular drops. That is not counting sigils whatsoever. The drop rate for a sigil is 1 in 512, and keep in mind that's the drop rate for any sigil. That is not the drop rate for any particular sigil. The Divine and the Elysian sigil are, of course, much more rare than the Arcane and the Spectral, so it's more common to hit one of the Arcane and Spectral, which are worth next to nothing, versus the Divine and the Elysian, which are worth around 20 mil. One other thing that some of you guys may be interested in is it is about 109 blue charms per hour average solo, which is really good. It's definitely not the best in the game. Blue charms are a little bit better if you go to glaciers for them, but it's definitely solid and one of the better methods of collecting them in the game. So that is about all for my Corporeal Beast guide. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, and also what you would like to see next for a PVM related guide down in the comments, and I will do that based on what you guys would like to see. Anyways, good luck on a solo sigil at Corp. That would be a really awesome achievement, and I will see you guys next time with the next video. Until then, farewell.